Netflix's Drive to Survive has made some pretty terrible mistakes. They changed the winner of a race, faked parts of their show, and they might have even rigged the 2021 World Championship. On top of that, they faked bad blood between drivers multiple times, added fake sound effects multiple times, and almost ruined a driver's entire career. But it gets worse than that, because during the 10th episode of season 4, they did something nobody expected. It was the final race of the 2021 season, and Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen were both tied at 369.5 points, something that hadn't happened in almost 50 years. And during the first lap of the race, Hamilton was barely in the lead, with Max Verstappen right on his tail. And then on turn 9, Max went for it. But this never actually happened, because the audio they used was faked. It actually came from the final lap of the race when Max Verstappen passed Lewis Hamilton to win the World Championship.
Hamilton sees him coming. It's a late lunge by Verstappen, who takes the lead of the race.
Now it only gets crazier from here, because this wasn't the first time Drive to Survive faked what actually happened. See, the first 2 seasons of the show had been major successes, and Netflix, well, they wanted to recreate that success. So they created something insane to try and hype up the show. They created their own fake rivalry between Lando Norris and Carlos Sainz, and it worked. During the show, you'd think they really hated each other's guts, constantly fighting and bad-mouthing behind each other's backs, but behind the scenes, Carlos Sainz and Lando Norris were anything but enemies. They were playing video games, eating fancy dinners, and even attending premieres together. Drive to Survive really did them both dirty, but it's nothing compared to what they did later on in the show. First, we need to talk about how they faked one of the worst crashes in Formula 1 history. See, Romain Grosjean had just talked with his manager, and he needed to secure himself a spot in the 2021 season, because Haas had just let him know they'd be dumping him at the end of the year. A team he'd been with for 5 years? Boy, did that hurt. And with his emotions all riled up, Grosjean arrived at the Bahrain Grand Prix ready to prove everyone wrong. But in the opening moments of the race, something felt off. While Roman would manage to pass 2 cars and move up into 7th place, something horrible would happen right after. All of a sudden, his car would lock up, sending him right into the barriers and exploding in the process. His car literally split in 2. But wait a minute, going back a couple of seconds, Grosjean would say the F word right before crashing, something he never actually said. On top of that, during the Russian Grand Prix, Drive to Survive would show the Belgian Grand Prix weather radar when talking about the heavy rain during the Russian race. Looking at the radar, you can see the highway E42, a road that crosses through most of Belgium and ends in Germany, nowhere near Russia. And during the qualifying for the French Grand Prix, Drive to Survive would show a full grid of cars for qualifying, something that only happened before an actual race. But what they did next was just plain wrong. During the race in Silverstone in the 2021 season, the championship fight between Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen turned deadly. Max had won the last 3 races in a row, the France, Austria, and Styria Grand Prix, and Lewis, down 33 points, was looking to make a comeback, because the man was embarrassed. He hadn't been down this many points in a minute, and he needed to find a way to catch up quickly before the championship got out of hand. And then he found the perfect opportunity. In lap 1 of the race, Lewis was trying everything he could to pass Max's Red Bull, going on the inside, trying the outside, but he just couldn't manage it. So on turn 9, Lewis decided to do something crazy. Right at the start of turn 9, he went straight for the overtake, risking everything. And in the process, he bumped Max's car, sending him flying off the tracks. And with Verstappen out of the race, all he had to do was take a 10-second penalty and then win the race. And while he was waiting out that penalty, it literally took Netflix 32 seconds to show a 10-second penalty. I mean, come on, y'all don't even know how to count. This is way longer than 10 seconds. Now, while that was stupid, it's not as stupid as what they did next. I mean, it's just easier if I show you.
Lewis is an incredibly clean racer.
Now, not only is that one of the stupidest statements ever said, but are we all going to forget when Lewis took out Alex Albon's car not once, but twice, literally ruining his entire F1 career? Now, these types of mistakes seem to be becoming normal, as Netflix literally changed the winner of a Formula 1 race. See, during the Monza sprint race, Valtteri Bottas would go on to finish first in the race, but Drive to Survive literally changed the winner of the race, claiming another driver had won. But before that, we need to talk about how Drive to Survive literally rigged the Formula 1 World Championship. Well, kinda. See, Lewis and Max were in a winner-takes-all scenario. Whoever won this next race would become the next Formula One world champion. The stakes were high. Lewis Hamilton had everything to lose, but little did Lewis know, Netflix was looking to rig the world championship and could possibly corrupt some officials to try and make the race as interesting as possible. But Lewis was making things difficult. After a solid qualifying, Lewis got second place on the grid, right behind Max Verstappen's car, and things were about to get heated.
It's lights out, away we go, and Hamilton gets a decent start, and he's already ahead of Max Verstappen.
Right off the bat, Lewis immediately took the lead of the race, and after surviving attack after attack from Max and Red Bull, Lewis would manage to hold on to that lead, and it was looking like Lewis would win his 8th world championship. But in the background, a Formula One official did something that would change the course of the race and history forever. Before the final lap of the race, the official removed the 5-lapped cars in between Lewis and Max, reducing Max's lead to nothing. And with Max's car on fresh tires and side by side with his car, Lewis could only hold off Max for so long before Max would make his move, taking the lead and winning the race in the world championship. And while they did my man Lewis dirty, it was nothing compared to ruining a driver's reputation, because Drive to Survive was about to make life hell for Lando Norris. See, Lando had been enjoying an impressive season, 6 different podiums, 160 points for McLaren, and no big controversies with either his teammate or McLaren. But Netflix was looking to make his season a little spicy. While Lando was busy playing video games in his $1 million house during the offseason, Netflix was busy faking bad blood between him and his teammate, using fake audio to create a heated rivalry, and making Lando look like a dick. And while it seemed like a bunch of harmless lies, Lando would start to get heat from angry fans, who thought he was actually like that, making him scared to leave his own house. And while Lando would manage to clear up the drama, it would leave his reputation somewhat scarred. But it gets dumber than that, because Drive to Survive doesn't even know where the Hungarian Grand Prix is located. During season 4, they started talking about the Hungarian Grand Prix, and literally said that the Grand Prix was located in Budapest, while the track's been located in a small village called Moyer Road for almost 35 years. During another episode, Drive to Survive literally covered footage with fake audio of Yuki Tsunoda yelling and screaming to make him look like an angry baby.
Like, come on, like a traffic.
But it doesn't stop there, because while covering a race, Drive to Survive showed clips of Lewis Hamilton, George Russell, and other drivers, but their tires were constantly switching between medium and soft during the lap. And if that wasn't enough, they disrespected one of the most legendary drivers of all time. See, back in the 2000s, a legend was born. His name? Fernando Alonso, who would go on to dominate the sport and win 2 world titles in the process. But secretly, Fernando was facing a major problem that was slowly draining his soul. He was burnt out. The man had spent the past 15 years of his life playing the sport, and he wanted to try something new. But after a couple years of break and spending some quality time with the family, Fernando would start to miss Formula One. Driving the car, winning races, meeting fans, and that longing would start to build until Fernando would return to Formula One, carrying his team to a 5th place finish in the 2021 season. But Drive to Survive didn't cover any of it. They didn't mention Fernando's return to Formula One or even his legendary race against Lewis Hamilton. You literally heard more about Yuki Tsunoda taking a poo than Fernando Alonso, straight up disrespecting a legend. But it gets crazier, because they literally got caught lacking in 4K. On the 14th of March 2022, McLaren's YouTube channel released this video, where Lando Norris and Daniel Ricciardo would react to season 4 of Drive to Survive. And while watching the show, this happened.
Wait, that's not right. Wait, he forced me off. That's not for
Did I say that?
Yeah, but you didn't.
Daniel literally caught Netflix in 4K, adding sound bits from different races to make their scenes more interesting. And while this was bad, it gets worse. During the Monaco Grand Prix, Charles Leclerc would experience one of the worst moments of his life. It was the 2021 season, and Charles was ready to win his hometown Grand Prix in Monaco and break his curse. See, Charles had never finished a race in his hometown before. In the 4 years driving in Formula One, from loose tires to engine problems, Charles had a curse around him that he just couldn't seem to break. And then, during the 2021 Monaco race, Charles would win pole position for the first time in Monaco, giving him the chance he needed to win his hometown race for the first time. But the curse would strike again, because right after securing first on the grid, Charles would crash his car right into the barriers, destroying the entire front of the car. And with 1 day to fix the car, things were looking great. But Ferrari would manage to pull through for Charles and fix the car before the start of the race. And while Charles was taking the car car for a test drive, something horrible would happen. With minutes left to the start of the race, Charles's car just died. It straight up stopped working. His nightmare had come true. With a chance to win his hometown race, the curse had struck again, and he was forced to sit out of the race. And if that wasn't bad enough, Drive to Survive literally showed Charles's bad luck twice, in 2 different episodes. As if that moment wasn't bad enough, they literally ran that shit back and forced Charles and everyone to relive that moment twice. Now, this wasn't a one-time thing, because they literally did it again with George Russell in the Belgian Grand Prix. They showed him driving the Eau Rouge turn 5 different times in one clip. And if that wasn't stupid enough, Drive to Survive literally changed the winner of the Monza Sprint race from Valtteri Bottas to Max Verstappen.
Max Verstappen out of the final corner and wins the sprint race.
And while Valtteri got robbed of a win, it is nothing compared to what they did with Nikita Mazepin. See, it was midway through the season, and during his country's Grand Prix, Nikita was looking to score some points for Haas, something he'd failed to do all season. And with a couple laps left in the Russian Grand Prix, Nikita was looking to start moving up the ranks, quickly passing a Haas, a McLaren, and an Alpine car in just a few short laps. But it turns out, Drive to Survive just wanted to make Nikita look good, because he was unlapping all the cars he had just passed. Literally, this man's driving was so bad, he got lapped by other cars and only managed to unlap himself. The only reason he didn't finish last is because 2 other drivers couldn't finish the race. But it doesn't end there for Nikita, because this man claimed he knew it was going to rain in Sochi during the Russian Grand Prix just by looking at the clouds, even though he's only lived in Moscow, which is 1,000 miles away.